Shalom, family trendsetter. Part 3, since I'm stuck in traffic. Let me give y'all the part 3 version before I get home. Now, I have a question for you Hebrew Christians as well as you Christians. How did Cain meet his wife? Where did Cain meet his wife? Do y'all remember the story? Right after Cain, the serpent seed killed Abel, right? Abel's blood cried out to the Most High, once again, telling you that life is in the blood. And when the Most High found out, I'm not going to go through the whole story, when Cain was having a conversation with the Most High. But remember, the Most High vanished Cain from the garden as a form of punishment. And Cain was scared and worried about the other people finding him and killing him. Which goes to show you that there was other people living during the time of Adam and Eve. That was the first creation. Because remember, paraphrasing, Cain was worried about being killed. Because, now he was like a vagabond. He was like a fugitive. And the Most High said, because he was a part of Eve, right? Even though the serpent was the daddy, the Most High did not destroy Cain right away. So what the Most High said, paraphrasing, that he was going to put a mark on Cain. Now, the mark of Cain is debatable. I personally believe the mark of Cain was the complexion of the first creation, the so-called white man, right? God's creation. And this is one of the reasons why you see today that you have two different distinct looking people on this planet. You have the seed of Adam look totally different than the so-called white man, which is the descendant of Cain. The reason why I believe, after doing my research, that the Most High gave to Cain the mark of, I guess you would call it leprosy, that white complexion, because that first creation, let us create man in our image, male and female, he created them. That first creation didn't look like Adam seed or Adam, okay? It looked like what you see today that walk amongst us. Now, how can I prove this? All right. Remember, as the story continues, that Cain went and he met his wife. Now, a lot of dumbass Christian and Hebrew Christian too believe that Cain met his sister, because they feel because there was no other people on the planet, only Adam and Eve, that's the only way Cain could have met his wife. Now, we don't know how old Cain was when he slew Abel. But let's say, for example, let me show you how stupid this argument is. Let's say, for example, Cain did meet his wife. That would mean, no, Cain did meet his sister and then she became his wife. That would mean that after Seth, because remember, after Abel died, Adam and Eve had another son called Seth, right? And nowhere in the Bible did it mention Adam and Eve having females. I'm sure they did afterwards, but I'm just telling you the account. After Cain and Abel, then it was Seth. So let's say, argument's sake, I don't know how old Cain would have been. Let's say, for example, they would have had another baby, right? After Seth, that means that baby would have been a baby, and then you would have had, probably by now, Cain would have been, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, who knows, 100 and shit. So you telling me that Cain would have waited that long to meet his sister? Because that's what a lot of Christians believe, family, believe it or not. They believe that Cain actually met his sister. No, dummies. Cain met his wife in Nod. Read the Genesis account. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put it in the descriptions box so you can see the verse and chapter. Okay? Cain met his wife in Nod. And the only reason why Cain was accepted, because the mark that the Most High gave Cain is to look like the people of Nod. Because remember, Adam and Eve were black people, quote unquote black people, right? Abel was black. Cain was actually black. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, Cain and Abel were twin. The only difference that I believe that Cain might have looked at a lot different than Abel, because the serpent was Cain's father, according to Genesis 3:15. Okay? So this is one of the reasons why the Most High, I personally believe, vanished Cain from the Garden of Eden, because he now had the serpent seed DNA in him, which is a wicked, evil ass DNA. Fast forward to 2019, the descendant of Cain that dwells amongst us still got that wicked ass DNA. So much so, even in Revelation 2 and 9, I think it's 2 and 9, it could be 3 and 9, that I don't believe in, but it said you are of your father the devil. Okay, so even in the book, that New Testament bullshit ass book, they tell you some truth where these people come from. So please, family, don't think for a moment that I'm trying to tell y'all to do away with the Bible. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna continue to read the Bible, because I'm learning a lot from the Bible. Not because it's all truth, it's because now the Most High is giving me discernment to break away or peel away the layers of lies. You know what I'm saying? So now I can use the same book that was given to our ancestors as slaves to control them against these devils. When they come with that bullshit, talk about Yahweh Shai or Jesus Christ, I could say, I could use that. You know, I'm not even try to cuss in this video. So what I'm trying, well, I already did. I'm sorry, my bad. But what I'm trying to explain to y'all, family, is that in order for Cain to meet his wife, right, when he was vanished, there had to have been other creation on this planet. And the mark that Cain received was the mark for him to blend in with the people of Nod, because again, he was worried about them finding and killing him. They should seek me out to kill me, paraphrasing. And the Most High said he was going to put a mark on him that if anybody, right, in Nod should kill him, they was going to be dealt with. And the reason why the Most High actually allowed him to survive is because, once again, he was half human. Okay, because Eve was created from Adam, according to the story. The rib was taken from Adam, but it was created from the ground. The breath of life was blown into Adam, and man became a living soul. So the reason why I personally believe that the Most High spared Cain is because he was a half-breed, so to speak. All right? So I know it is hard for y'all to understand, because, you know, we've been indoctrinated through Christianity to believe that first Eve ate an apple and got and sinned against the Most High, so much so he made you know, something to cover up their private area. So you sin with your mouth, but yet still you get punished through your vagina, through childbirth. That don't make any sense. And because Adam, and you know what, I always try to question these Christians when I ask them. So I say to them, so why did Adam get punished for something that Eve initially did? But you know why? You know why he got punished? Because, like I told y'all before, they was not created to have sex. They was created to till the Garden of Eden, the tree of life. Okay, whatever the tree of life is. You know what I'm saying? The Most High created Adam, first of all, as a form of guard, to guard the Garden of Eden. And then, because, of course, you know, Adam, according to the story, he was lonely. So then the Most High created Eve, took a rib from Adam. He gave him an helpmate. But initially, they were supposed to just be like like the capital lowercase G-O-Ds, gods, okay? Not able to die or anything like that. This is why he said, because of their sin, paraphrasing, now they're going to be like men. They're going to die. You know what I'm saying? They're going to become like gods, knowing good and evil, which basically means because these fallen angels, they knew what sex was, how to reproduce. So now they became like God, knowing good and evil. And evil for the Most High was the fact that them actually having sex, because he did not create them to have sex. The first creation was instructed to multiply and be fruitful. Be fruitful and multiply. The first creation was created by other gods was instructed to be fruitful and multiply, right? And to have dominion over the sea or whatever. But the Most High creation from the ground, his objective was for them just to guard the Garden of Eden. But what happened when this serpent infiltrated the Garden of Eden and beguiled, which is trick, because even in the New Testament it also says Paul, right, the Apostle Paul beguiled many of y'all, and I'll make a video about that sometime in the future to show you that Paul actually told y'all himself with his own mouth that he beguiled a lot of y'all to believing in this dumbass nigga called Jesus Christ. But anyway, so what I'm saying to y'all is that initially the Most High did not create Adam and Eve to multiply, because the first creation, that God that said let us, he created the first creation to multiply, you know what I'm saying, to have dominion over the earth. Now this particular creation of the Most High, which is Adam and Eve, it wasn't supposed to happen that way. And because they went and Eve actually, according to the scriptures, the Heliobiblus, right, she went and she was beguiled by the serpent and tricked into having sex with the serpent, and that's how you had Cain come about. And then of course she had sex again, introduced sex to Adam, and Adam, I guess, experienced it for the first time. But remember one thing you got to understand also, that the commandments or the instruction was only given to Adam, not Eve. So the Most High told Adam, right, not to deal with the tree, because the tree was referring to the mankind, the other men, the other humans that was there, because those other humans did, you know, certain behavior that's not pleasing to the Most High, such as sex. And he told them, if all the tree, don't eat of it. Now we always think things as literal and shit, like eating of the tree. No, it's basically metaphoric, you know what I'm saying? Allegory, symbolicness, when he said the tree, because like I said, in the Old Testament the Most High referred to men as being trees. Even in the beasts of the field, when they talk about the beasts of the field is actually the first creation. Those are the so-called white men, I personally believe, because they're the one today even still eat raw meat and all of that. The beasts of the field is referring to the first creation, you know what I'm saying? So you have to understand, he wasn't, because what I've noticed in the Old Testament, the Most High distinguished the four-legged beasts from the regular beasts. Okay, he always distinguished the cattle from the beasts. The beast of the field is the first creation, the one that was dwelling in Nod, the one that Cain met. This is why I told y'all before that the troglodytes, I personally believe, is the first creation, and then you had the Neanderthal that mixed it with the troglodytes, then in return came back and mixed it with human beings, and the white man is descendant of the Neanderthal. So the beast of the field is actually the Neanderthal. Okay, that's where you get the beasts of the field from. These hairy bastards that go around that have no soul. They only have spirit but no soul. Soulless devils. And I personally believe today why you have a lot of so-called white people that have a little bit of humanity in them is because they have our DNA in them, but they still soulless fuckers. You know what I'm saying? That's just my opinion. So once again, this is part 3. Just wanted to clarify. Possibly might be a part 4. If I see y'all still don't get it in the comment section, then I might have to make a part 4. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I tell you one thing. If you use the sermon, if you follow the Lord's statutes and commandments, the Most High will deal with you, so much so that he will give you discernment to discern what's facts from fiction. This book that we read is not just our story, and it is not just about our God, okay? This book it was written for all the nation, and we have to take and sift out what belongs to us. And I'm gonna tell y'all the truth in closing. This is for the record. This book does not have ever anything to do with our God. I'm telling you right now. Okay, it might be only mentioned a couple of times in the Old Testament who the God of the Hebrews but it's not. The entire Bible is not based upon our God. Our God do not deal with blood sacrifice. Our God only deal with obedience, okay, and supplication. When you sin against your Creator, you go on your knees and you ask for forgiveness, and that's it. I have never ever done a blood sacrifice since I've been on this planet, and I'm still being blessed even to today. I'm sure a lot of y'all have not done any blood sacrifice. Okay, now believe it or not, a lot of us indirectly have done blood sacrifice, right? In where what is referred to as abortion. I know I participated in that shit. So yeah, maybe in that aspect, I probably have done blood sacrifice, but it wasn't intentional. It wasn't my ignorance, like many of us. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure a lot of us probably experienced the same situation. You know what I'm saying? But I want y'all to understand, family, that, you know, we have been deceived. We have been lied to. Our original record was taken away from us. Everything we read today is not our original record. they have taken away our record and given us their record, watered down version of it anyway, and they have given us their God to worship, so much so we are being separated from our God. Because every time you do communion, every time we do so-called what's that thing called where you put the Passover, right? You're sacrificing, you're spilling blood that we didn't create. You know what I'm saying? To please what? To please what God? You don't even know what God you're actually serving, because we're praying to an unseen God. So you have to be very careful when you pray to these unseen God, because once again, we have never seen God. We don't know what God look like. Only thing we have to do is by faith. And if I'm going to pray to a God, I want to make sure it's not the God of the heathen, the God that's going to condemn me. Because when you invoke certain prayers, right? In other words, when you pray to these gods, right? You don't know who you're praying to. You invoking all these different entities into your home, into your life. And this is why a lot of times our life is so fucked up, because we're not praying to the God of the Hebrews. But anyway, family, I'm going to end by saying shalom, peace, and blessing. I love y'all.